Hare Krishna, Dharan Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes, sir.
And I'm visible.
Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna.
So we'll begin, Prabhu, because the audio are still tuning in, Prabhuji, and it might take a couple of minutes, but we can
wait for 1 or 2 minutes, maybe.
Okay, fine, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dharma Pradams. So welcome all devotees for today's Saturday evening class. And we are very fortunate once to have with us His Grace Aradhya Bhagavan Prabhu. तो हम सबका परम सौभाग्य है कि आज पुनः एक बार प्रभु का हमको संग प्राप्त हो रहा है और हम सभी मिलकर प्रभु जी का स्वागत करते हैं आज की कक्षा के लिए. Altogether, would like to welcome Prabhuji by taking shelter of the holy name one time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Loud and
yes,
clear.
yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to serve once again. Hari Hari. So we'll start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimrandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namayom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha नमो महावदन्नाय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये नीलाचल निव्यासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यं जगन्नाथाय ते नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 रामो राम राम हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं मंगुल्लंघायते गिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुतिरतारिणं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं परमानन्दमाधवम्. Hare Krishna. So today our topic will be Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So when Ranchor Prabhu asked me to give him the topic for today's Bhagavatam class, I thought that usually when we say Bhagavatam, we speak about Srimad Bhagavatam. We speak from Srimad Bhagavatam. We discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. But then I was just looking at today's Tithi and I noticed that on Monday is Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami's Tirabhav Tithi. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, as we know, is one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. All altars in the Gauriya Vaishnava Parampara. No matter which Gauriya Vaishnava Shakha you belong to, whether it is ISKCON or Gauriya Math or any other Babaji Sampradaya, all Gauriya Vaishnava Shakhas, you will find the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan equally respected. So instead of the book Bhagavat, I thought it will be really nice if we do some prayers and we discuss a Vyakti Bhagavat, because he's a Vyakti Bhagavat. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. He was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So today's Bhagavatam session on Zoom, instead of doing the usual book Srimad Bhagavat, we're going to do the Vyakti Bhagavat. We're going to discuss the life and works of a Vyakti Bhagavat. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, they are extremely elevated devotees. Actually, they are all different manjaris from Krishna Lila. You know, you have the gopis, you have the manjaris, the different gradations of the devotees, gopis, gopas, manjaris, sakhis, right? The different gradations of the devotees who are serving Radha Krishna in his Nitya Leela. So it is said that Rupa Goswami was Rupa Manjari. Then I think Sanatan Goswami was Lavanga Manjari, Rajprakash Prabhu. I think Lavanga Manjari was Sanatan Goswami. I have to check once. Anyways,
Goswami, the Vilas Manjari.
Vilas Manjari, right? Lavanga Manjari was whom?
Lavang Manjari.
Anyways, so these 6 Goswamis, they were different Manjaris. So Rupa Goswami was sent by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you know, to Vrindavan to actually establish Vrindavan the way it is, you know. In fact, the Vrindavan that we see today, it did not exist like this. In real sense of the term, it was a forest or a jungle. घना जंगल था वो, you know, it was a forest. And अभी जैसे Vrindavan is a nagar, it's a town, right? So it was not so back then. ऐसा था ही नहीं उस वक्त. In fact, Emperor Akbar, शहनशाह अकबर, उनका पूरे जिंदगी में he had hardly पर्सनली जो फरमान जारी होता है, पर्सनली जो फरमान जारी होता है, राजा का जो आदेश पत्र होता है ना, राजा का मोहर लगता है, शहनशाह का मोहर लगता है, तो वैसा जो फरमान है, अकबर जनरली पूरा जिंदगी में वेरी फ्यू फरमान्स ही हैड स्टैम्प्ड विद हिज ओन सील. ज्यादातर जो मुगल फरमान जो भी निकलता था, वो ज्यादातर उनका अलग अलग जो मिनिस्टर्स है, वजीर आजम और वगैरह वगैरह, वजीर खजाना, वजीर आजम, प्राइम मिनिस्टर, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर, उनके मोहर पे ज्यादातर निकलता था फरमान. बट वृंदावन एस्टेब्लिशमेंट का जो फरमान है, the farman by virtue of which Vrindavan was established as a separate notified area, this was actually done under Akbar's own seal, and the credit actually goes to Rupa Goswami for this. तो इस तरह रूप गोस्वामी ने पहले वृंदावन का स्थापना किया, और उस वक्त उन लोगों के लिए वृंदावन में रहना बहुत मुश्किल था. उन लोगों के लिए इस्कॉन का गेस्ट हाउस नहीं था, एमवीटी का सुंदर गार्डन वाला बंगलोज नहीं था, भोगला आश्रम नहीं था, तो हम लोग अभी वृंदावन जाते हैं तो पहले बुकिंग कर लेते हैं इस्कॉन गेस्ट हाउस, एमबीटी गेस्ट हाउस। प्रसाद के लिए इस्कॉन के आसपास भी बहुत सारे सुंदर सुंदर रेस्टोरेंट्स वगैरह है, गोविंदास है, अलग अलग मंदिर है, वहाँ पे बहुत अच्छा भोग बनता है। कार्तिक में तो कोई जाके पूरा टाइम बिना एक चवन्नी खर्चा करके उधर 3 टाइम पेट भर के बढ़िया प्रसाद खा सकता है, क्योंकि देयर इज सो मच ऑफ प्रसाद बीइंग डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड इन डिफरेंट temples, right? But this was not how it was when Rup Sanatan Goswamis went, you know. उनको शायद मधुकरी करने के लिए भी उनको बहुत ज्यादा घूमना पड़ता था, क्योंकि इस तरह भी वृंदावन नहीं था, वो जंगल था पूरा, right? मधुकरी करने के लिए भी तो घर चाहिए ना, बसती चाहिए, गांव चाहिए, वो भी इतना एस्टेब्लिश नहीं था। जो हम लोग अभी देखते हैं, इट वाज मच लेटर एक्चुअली, नॉट व्हेन रूप गोस्वामी सनातन गोस्वामी वेंट। कहा जाता है कि हमारे सनातन गोस्वामी पाद दिन में 2-3 घंटे सोते थे, राइट? और रात को सनातन गोस्वामी कुछ सूखा पत्ता और सूखा पेड़ का सूखा सूखा छोटा छोटा डाली, उसको जला के, मतलब dried leaves and dried twigs, जला के he used to create a fire, and using that fire he used to mm, write his books. So, for us, these books, is something that we should treasure with a lot of our heart. हमें हमेशा कोशिश करना चाहिए कि ये जो अलग अलग पुस्तकें, जो शास्त्र है, जो हमारे आचार्य वर्ग ने रचना किया है, उसका हम बहुत अच्छे से सम्मान करें, सादर करें, उनका पठन करें, पाठ करें, because they went through extreme lengths of difficulty to gift us those books. In fact, परम गुरुदेव हमारे संस्थापक आचार्य श्रील एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद, Param Gurudev used to say that Vrindavan is a gift of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami to us. Vrindavan is a gift of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. This Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, actually Rupa Goswami के पास फिर Jiva Goswami goes and starts serving Rupa Goswami. And Jiva Goswami was an excellent, he was a organizer, तो अभी हम लोग जाके जो सेवा कुंज, निधिवन, दान, उसको दान, forgetting the names anyways, तो ये जो सॉरी प्रभु,
एक दान केली और दान घाटी,
दान घाटी, दान घेटी, फिर वृंदावन का अलग अलग जो जगह है ना, रशस्थली एंड ऑल दैट, these places actually Jiva Goswami only bought these places. उन्होंने ये जगह पूरा खरीद के इनका हेरिटेज रेस्टोरेशन किया। जैसे इस्कॉन कोलकाता की तरफ से, इस्कॉन कोलकाता अभी उल्टाडांगा जंक्शन रोड प्रोजेक्ट का रेस्टोरेशन किया है और उसको अभी मेंटेन कर रहे हैं। तो इसी तरह जीव गोस्वामी पाद भी उस टाइम पे he arranged for donations and he bought these places and he restored them. सो हमारे मन में एक ऐसा कभी कभी शंका आता है कि जो साधु व्यक्ति है वो सिर्फ एक जगह पे बैठ के he will only do japa or he'll only do sadhana. That is the image of a sadhu that we have in our mind, which is okay, but it is not complete. It is just half the truth. So जीवा गोस्वामी पाद जो कि हमारे एक आचार्य है, वो अपनी जिंदगी के आचार से हमको दिखा रहे हैं कि ये जो अलग अलग एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल काम जो he had done, they were extremely important work. They were important services for this movement. And they were doing this service under instruction of चैतन्य महाप्रभु. चैतन्य महाप्रभु के आदेश अनुसार ही ये अलग अलग सेवाएं में अपने आप को वो लोग नियुक्त कर रहे थे. तो गुरु का ये जो आदेश है, गुरु का आदेश का पालन करना ही हमारा साधना है, हमारा सेवा है. गुरु का आदेश पालन करना हमारा सेवा है, हमारा साधना है. वो आदेश में हो सकता है कि हम कहीं पे जाके how do I put it? हो सकता है कि हम कहीं पे जाके एकांत में साधना करें, वो भी एक सेवा है. हो सकता है कि हमको शाही दरबार में जाके, अकबर का दरबार में जाके मंत्रियों के साथ मिलके ऑर्गेनाइज करना हो, डोनेशन कलेक्ट करके कुछ एस्टेब्लिश करना हो. जैसे हमारा रूप गोस्वामी वृंदावन का फरमान जारी करवाए थे, जीव गोस्वामी ये अलग अलग स्थल खरीदे थे. So both of this is service. The only qualification factor of a service is गुरु's आदेश, गुरु का आदेश. वही हमारा साधना है. और जब कोई साधना अच्छे से करता है तब गुरु का कृपा होता है, और गुरु का कृपा से हमको कृष्ण प्राप्ति होता है. जैसे रूप गोस्वामी पाद जीव गोस्वामी के ऊपर he became very happy with जीवा गोस्वामी, and उनका अलग अलग skills था रूप गोस्वामी का. And one of his skills was, he was a beautiful painter, he was a beautiful carver. And in one of his skills, Rupa Goswami Pad carved a nice black marble deity of Radha Damodar, and he gifted it to Jiva Goswami. This marble deity actually came from the Vindhyachal Parvat in Madhya Pradesh. So, there were these deities that were being also served slowly and slowly in Vrindavan. धीरे धीरे सारे गोस्वामियों का अपना अपना deities आने लगा था. And these deities, that time there was no big temple, right? अभी तो वृंदावन का skyline बोलेंगे तो हमको वो मदन मोहन मंदिर का sky याद आता है ना, केशी घाट के ऑपोजिट से जो फोटोज उठाया जाता है जिसमें मदन मोहन मंदिर का चूरा दिखता है. Those big temples of Vrindavan. That's the image of Vrindavan that we have in our mind now. Like back in those days, even deities के पास भी वो नहीं था. Deities used to sleep in, deities used to be worshipped under the bark of a tree. किसी पेड़ के नीचे. जैसे आजकल हम लोग मजाक में बोलते हैं ना, हिंदुस्तान के हर चौराहे पे एक छोटा छोटा मंदिर मिलता है. वृंदावन में भी मान लो वैसा ही कुछ था शायद. पेड़ के नीचे छोटा छोटा मंदिर. और गोस्वामी जैसे रूप गोस्वामी, सनातन गोस्वामी, गोस्वामी पाद, they never stayed under one tree in fear of attachment, right? So they would travel with their deities. So yeah, Vrindavan was very different. In fact, Srila Prabhupada says that, in fact, like Srila Prabhupada actually puts it this way, that somebody who has regularly जो शास्त्र का चर्चा करता हो, somebody who is cultivating shastras, उनका जो ये देह है, जो शरीर है, Prabhupada says उनका देह चिन्मय बन जाता है. They are not ordinary people. Somebody who is, cultivating shastras over a period of time, this body becomes chinmaya. So in fact, that is one of the reasons why, we should always visit samadhis. Srila Indradumna Swami Maharaj, he says that, we should always take advantage of being in a dham and go and take darshan in samadhis. In Puri we have Ganga Mata Goswami Dimat, where we have Ganga Mata Goswamini's samadhi, and we have Swarup Damodar's samadhi. Then we have in Vrindavan we have अलग-अलग हमारे जितने आज गोस्वामी लोग हैं उन लोगों का समाधि है, और भी बहुत बहुत सारे हमारे आचार्यों का समाधि है. तो ये समाधि में we should go and we should pray to them, because वो समाधि के अंदर, वो पूर्ण समाधि में जो हमारे जो आचार्य वर्ग को जो वहाँ पे समाधिस्थ किया जाता है, वो समाधि में उनका ये शरीर जो चिन्मय शरीर बन जाता है, it becomes an intensification of pure energy which emancipates from that samadhi mandir. So that is why Srila Gurudev Indradumna Swami Maharaj, he says that we should make it a point that when we visit any dham, we should go and we should, seek blessings, and we should pray in the samadhi mandirs. It gives us a lot of, positive energy, chinmaya shakti. It will help us in taking our devotional life ahead. So, yeah. Then Bhakti Vinod Thakur, one of our acharyas, in the same line, he says that, like I was saying yesterday, that for acharyas, this prakata, aprakat is all just a leela, right? So Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that the eternal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they can actually appear to us if they desire to. Of course, ऐसा नहीं है कि हम लोग घर में बैठे बैठे रोएंगे और वो आ जाएंगे. हमारा साधना हमारा प्योरिटी के ऊपर भी डिपेंड करते हैं, और हमारा मोटिवेशन के ऊपर भी डिपेंड करता है कि why they should come. But Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that they can appear to us. In fact, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, after Bhakti Vinod Thakur left this material world, he entered Nitya Leela, and then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji very बहुत शॉर्ट पीरियड में भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर ने भी नित्य लीला प्रवेश किया, और गौर किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज भी नित्य लीला प्रवेश किए. तो वो टाइम पीरियड बहुत शॉर्ट था. बहुत जल्दी जल्दी भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद को ही लॉस्ट बोथ हिज फादर एंड हिज गुरु. उनका पिता और उनका गुरु महाराज दोनों ही बहुत very fast or very closely they entered Nitya Leela almost together. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he did not intend to become a Guru Maharaj, right? He did not intend any of these things. उनको सिर्फ पता था कि उनको प्रचार करना है, और उनको तब तक उनको लगता था कि मैं जाऊंगा, मैं प्रचार करूंगा, और जो भी आएगा मैं उनको मेरा पिता या मेरा गुरु महाराज के चरण में अर्पित कर दूंगा, फिर वहां से उनको दीक्षा मिल जाएगा. That is how he was thinking. He was not thinking I am going to become a guru one day, right? उनको गुरु बनने का कुछ ऐसा था नहीं. तो जब उनके गुरु महाराज और उनके पिता चले गए, सो वो सोचे कि what will I do now? पूरा एकदम hopeless kind of a thing, he was like, I have lost all reason to go and preach. मेरे को प्रचार करने का कुछ है नहीं, मैं क्या प्रचार करूंगा, लाके मैं किन के चरण में उनको अर्पित करूंगा, right? So he was completely, he had decided that I cannot do anything. I have no support system left anymore. मैं अकेला क्या प्रचार करूंगा और प्रचार करके करूंगा भी क्या. So he had decided कि वो मायापुर में बैठ के जैसे पिछले 11 साल से he was doing his japa 192 rounds every day, he will just continue that till the rest of his life. So that time, one night, अभी जहाँ पे हमारा ईशोदान टेम्पल है मायापुर में, ईशोदान टेम्पल के जो अभी ऑफिस जहाँ पे है ना, पहले इवन इन 91 92 वहां पे एक बहुत बड़ा वटवृक्ष वहां पे स्थित थे. There was a big banyan tree over there. So under that banyan tree, that place is very potent actually. Next time you go to Mayapur, you should take dust from that place. तो उस पेड़ के नीचे चैतन्य महाप्रभु से लेके उनका गुरु महाराज तक हमारा जो पूरा गुरु परंपरा है, every single one of them, including his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur, everyone appeared to him that night, and they told him that don't worry, you go out and you preach, we are there with you. Maybe आप हमको देख नहीं पा रहे हो all the time, but be rest assured that we are always there with you. Okay, whatever you need, I will send you. Whatever you need, we are going to take care of it. So ऐसे करके भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर को उन्होंने इंस्पायर किया उस रात को. So that is why I keep saying everyone, and actually all our acharyas also say this, that भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर के जितने disciples है, they are all, each and every one of them are very special because they are sent by our Guru Parampara personally to assist Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. So, whenever I see that somebody somewhere, they are not taking so much of respect while, giving so much of respect or importance to any of his disciples, like our Srila Prabhupada's God brothers, I feel sad because, each of Srila Prabhupada's God brothers, they are extremely, extremely powerful personalities, right? And all of them have been personally sent by our acharyas to assist Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada in his mission to spread Krishna consciousness across the world. Right? Anyways, so let's just get back to the topic. Bhakti Vinod, like I said, we should always take shelter of devotees and pray at samadhis in Vrindavan. So one such samadhi is Gopal Bhatta Goswami's samadhi. In fact, I've heard that Srila Prabhupada, after taking his darshan at Radha Damodar temple, Radha Damodar in the morning, he would go for Madhukari, and after Madhukari, he would go to take darshan of Radha Raman. We'll be discussing Radha Raman shortly. He would take darshan of Radha Raman DT, and after taking darshan of Radha Raman, he would then go and sit at Gopal Bhatta Goswami's samadhi, which is just beside Radharaman temple, and he would do his japa over there. Okay. This actually I heard from Indradumna Swami Maharaj. Today only I heard for the first time actually. So you can understand, we are Prabhupada Nugas, and our Param Guru Dev is attaching so much importance to that samadhi, to that personality. So it is very important for us that we also keep that mood alive, walking in the feet of our in the road, या जो भी मार्गदर्शन शिला प्रभुपाद ने हमको हमारे लिए किया है. So we'll now discuss a little bit about Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, as many of you may know, he was the son of Raj Prakash Prabhu,
Venkat Bhatt.
Venkata Bhatta. Venkata Bhatta was a Bhatta Brahmin in the Sri Vaishnava line in Srirangam. If you have read Chaitanya Chaitamrita, there is a beautiful chapter on there's a beautiful chapter on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's discussions with Venkata Bhatta. Right? So Venkata Bhatta's son was Gopal Bhatta. And Gopal Bhatta, before I say something about Gopal Bhatta, I think it's very important that we read about what Param Gurudev is writing about Gopal Bhatta. Okay. So we'll read Prabhupada Purport, Srila Prabhupada's Purport in Adi Leela, Adi 10, text 105, 10th chapter 105. Okay. So now I'm just reading. If you have it in front of you, you can take it out. Okay. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was the son of Venkata Bhatta, a resident of Srirangam. Gopal Bhatta formerly belonged to the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, but later became a part of the Gauriya Sampradaya. In the year 1433 Shakabdu, AD 1511, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring South India, he stayed for 4 months during the period of Chaturmasa at the house of Venkata Bhatta, who then got the opportunity to serve the Lord to his heart's content. Gopal Bhatta also got the opportunity to serve the Lord at this time. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was later initiated by his uncle, the great sannyasi Prabodhananda Saraswati. Both the father and the mother of Gopal Bhatta Goswami was extremely fortunate, for they dedicated their entire lives to the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They allowed Gopal Bhatta Goswami to go to Vrindavan, and they gave up their lives thinking of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes, Shilesh Yadav Prabhu, I see your hand is up. Okay. When Lord Chaitanya was later informed that Gopal Bhatta Goswami had gone to Vrindavan and met Sri Rup and Sanatan Goswami, he was very pleased, and he advised Sri Rup and Sanatan to accept Gopal Bhatta Goswami as their younger brother and take care of him. Sri Sanatan Goswami, out of his great affection for Gopal Bhatta Goswami, compiled the Vaishnava Smriti named Hari Bhakti Vilasa and published it under his name. Under the instruction of Srila Rupa and Sanatana, Gopal Bhatta Goswami installed one of the 7 principal deities of Vrindavan, the Radharaman deity. The Sevaites of the Radharaman temple belong to the Gauriya Vaishnava Sampradaya. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took permission from all the Vaishnavas before writing Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita, which is this book, Gopal Bhatta Goswami also gave him his blessings. But he requested him not to mention his name in the book. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has mentioned Gopal Bhatta Goswami only very cautiously in 1 or 2 verses of the Chaitanya Chaitamrita. Srila Jiva Goswami has written in the beginning of his Tattva Sandarbha, a devotee from southern India who was born of a Brahmana family and was a very intimate friend of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, has written a book that he has not compiled chronologically. Therefore, I, a tiny living entity, known as Jiva, as in Jiva Goswami, am trying to assort the events of the book chronologically, consulting the direction of great personalities like Madhvacharya, Sridhara Swami, Ramanujacharya, and other senior Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Sandarbha, there are similar statements by Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami compiled a book called Satkriya Dipika, edited the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, that is Krishna Paramananda Prabhu. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami compiled a book called Satkriya Dipika, edited the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, wrote a foreword to the Sat Sandarbha and a commentary on Krishna Karnamrita, and installed the Radharaman deity in Vrindavan. In the Gaur Ganodesh Dipika, it is mentioned that his previous name in the pastimes of Lord Krishna was Anangamanjari. Sometimes he is also said to have been an incarnation of Gunamanjari. Srinivas Acharya and Gopinath Pujari were two of his disciples. So this is what Param Gurudev has to say about Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And as I mentioned over here, rather as Param Gurudev mentions over here, that Gopal Bhatta Goswami, out of his humility, he asked Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami not to mention him in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, right? But very nicely, in the one or two places where Krishnadas Kaviraj mentions Gopal Bhatta Goswami, very nicely in this particular text, this text number 105, Adi Lila chapter 10, in one line he glorifies Gopal Bhatta Goswami, right? And he says, Shri Gopalo Bhatto Eko Shakha Sarvottam Rupa Sanatana Sange Jaro Premo Alapon. So he's saying that Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami's Shakha is Sarvottam. So it is said that the different Gauriya Vaishnava branches that we have, amongst all these branches, Gopal Bhatta Goswami's branch is the Sarvottam. That's what Krishnadas Kaviraj is mentioning over here. Right? So as Param Gurudev mentions in the purport, Lord Chaitanya stayed for 4 months during the Chaturmasa at Venkat Bhatta's house in Srirangam, where the young, roughly 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 10-year-old roughly, Gopal Bhatta, bachcha tha, 10 saal ka bachcha, he served Lord Chaitanya very closely. In fact, there is an incident where, Lord Chaitanya was sleeping and Gopal Bhatta started, giving him foot massage. और वो foot massage के time पे after some time the Lord wakes up and he was very pleased with Gopal Bhatta's service, and तो वो service out of his pleasure he has a very intimate discussion with the 10-year-old Gopal. And at the end of that intimate discussion, actually Lord Gopal actually tells him that, you are Krishna in the mood of Radharani, but I have not been able to see you in your Nimai form, right? So these are very serious discussion topics for a 10-year-old kid, right? But that happened. And so that night, when Gopal was sleeping, and then he saw along the bank of the Ganges, he saw a river, and along the bank of the river, he saw a Sankirtan party. And in that Sankirtan party, he's seeing that he's standing on the bank of the Ganges, and a Sankirtan party is coming towards him, right? And in that Sankirtan party, he's seeing that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Nimai Pandit form, not in his sannyas form, right? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in South India, so the Gopal has seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after he became a sannyasi, right? When he became a Tridandi sannyasi. But in his dream, he was seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nimai, with his long hair and Trikacha dhoti and everything. So, and then he saw, Nityananda Prabhu and everyone else along with him. And then he saw that, Nimai's party is coming towards him. And then Nityananda Prabhu reaches out to him and he embraces him. And that very moment, Gopal's sleep breaks open. Okay. So, नींद से जग जाते, and he runs out of his room and he enters Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's room. And what does he see? He sees the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stand. He actually, when he enters the room, he sees a Bal Gopal, Tribhanga form with his bansuri. He sees Bal Gopal, bluish boy, in his Tribhanga form, dressed as a cowherd boy, Tribhanga form with his bansuri. He is seeing the moment he enters. And then that Krishna form, that Tribhanga Krishna form, shifts to Nimai form that he saw in his dream. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Grihastha life days. Nimai form. And from that Nimai form, slowly and slowly, it turns into Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sannyasa Roop, Sannyasa Vesha, which he was witnessing for till now, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at his home. So, that time also there was a lot of discussions that was happening, that's ensued between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gopal Bhatta. Actually, we have to understand that, when they were discussing or serving, or when Gopal Bhatta was serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they were doing any intimate discussions, it was actually a very confidential pastime that was taking place between Ananga Manjari and Radharani. Okay. So that is why the relationship was extremely special. Then after 4 months, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was about now ready to leave and go on with his rest of his tour, क्योंकि चतुर्मास खत्म हो गया था. तो उस टाइम पे गोपाल भट्टा, he was crying profusely. बच्चा है, he was crying profusely, रो रहा है, मत जाओ, you can imagine how difficult it is for Ananga Manjari, to leave Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Radha Krishna, like we know how the Vrajavasis, they were crying and their pain, their viraha when Krishna left them, right? So this was a enactment of a similar nature. That same mood was established over there. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually told him that, you should not cry, you should serve your parents. After they leave, you should go to Vrindavan and you should meet Rupa and Sanatan. So shortly after that, when Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he started taking Shiksha and Diksha under his uncle, Prabodhananda Saraswati, who was Venkat Bhatta's younger brother. So he took Diksha and Shiksha both under him, and he became very expert in his study of Shastras and everything. And then with time, his parents left this material world. Venkat Bhatta and his wife, they left this material world. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still in this material world, and he was doing his pastimes in Sri Jagannath Puri Dham, which he had created his base after sannyas, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after sannyas, he created Puri as his base. So he was still in Puri at that time. He was in this material world. And Gopal Bhatta went from Srirangam, he went to Vrindavan. He could have still gone to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is something that we should note. Guru Maharaj used to say that this is an Acharya who is telling us through his Achar again what it means to serve Guru Maharaj. Okay, service in separation. It is he chose Vapu Seva. He chose Vani Seva over Vapu Seva because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already instructed him to go to Vrindavan. So, following that Vani, he went to he decided to go to Vrindavan and he went to Vrindavan. He did not go to Puri. Puri unse बहुत ही नजदीक था. It was much easier for him to go to Puri and do Vapu Seva of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he didn't do that. Hmm? So this is a very important shiksha that we can get from him. So then he went over there, and when he reached there, Rup Sanatan had already been instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he's going to come, and Rup Sanatan was instructed to treat him as his own brother. So Rup Sanatan immediately they sent out letters to Puri, and as you know, back in those days, speed post तो था नहीं, DTDC courier भी नहीं था, first flight नहीं था, DHL नहीं था. So back in those days, people used to run. Used to be runners. They're called runners. People used to run on horseback, and जैसे हमारा अभी relay race होता है ना, उस तरह relay होके messages used to reach from one part to another. So a letter was sent to Puri. So it took some time to reach Puri, but the moment it reached Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that time he was having prasad. The moment he heard that letter has come, and in that letter, Rupa Goswami mentions that Jiva Goswami has arrived. क्या नाम है उनका? Gopal Bhatta Goswami has arrived. So immediately he leaves everything. He gets up and he writes a letter back to Rupa Goswami, and he sends two things. Actually, three things, amongst other things. Three important things he sends. First, he sends his kopin. Second, he sends the outer garments that are worn by a Babaji. Babaji वेश में हम लोग जो पहनते हैं, he sent that. Okay, white color sannyas vastra, you can say. Outer garments of a Babaji Vesha. And the third thing he sent was a chowki, जिसमें Mahaprabhu बैठते थे. So here Acharyas say that kopin of any realized soul, in this case Krishna himself, worshipping that is something that helps us easily get over what do you call it, lust. Worshipping or accepting with a whole heart, if you accept and realized soul's kopin and you worship it, then you easily get over lust. Okay. In fact, I think there is a pastime where people were मैं भूल रहा कुछ नित्यानंद प्रभु का कोपिन लेके भी ऐसा कुछ एक पास टाइम है, but anyways I'm forgetting that, so I'll not get over there. So this is how Gopal Bhatta, he received a letter of instruction and these gifts from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the moment he got this vesh from him, so immediately he changed his clothes and he accepted the Babaji Vesha. So Babaji Vesh is basically the photos of the 6 Goswamis that we see on our altars, everyone wearing a white color loin cloth, and a white color chadar and white bead bag and japa and things like that. So he immediately accepted that Vesha, accepting as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's blessings, and he started serving. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami as we already said, or Param Gurudev mentions in his purport, you know, he was a Brahmana, very scholarly Brahmana of a very well accepted lineage. Sri Vaishnava lineage was a very well accepted lineage, right? So, this puja paddhati, right? The different ways of doing puja paddhati, puja vidhi, these were instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to him to, formalize them for the Gauriya Vaishnava community, because he comes from that kind of background. If Gopal Bhatta says something, the whole Brahmana community in the country will accept it. So that's how he writes Laghu Hari Bhakti Vilash, he writes Satkriya Deepika, he writes Samskar Deepika. In fact, some people will tell you Hari Bhakti Vilas is written by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, some will say Sanatan Goswami, but actually Gopal Bhatta Goswami wrote Laghu Hari Bhakti Vilas, and that was expanded by Sanatan Goswami as Hari Bhakti Vilas. So that's how it happened. Hmm. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he had a lot of affinity for deity worship, and one day, he was sleeping in Vrindavan, and in his heart, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, inspired him through a dream that he can get his deities if he goes to Kaligandaki river in Nepal. So again, he makes that arduous journey. Okay, so that time you have to go by foot, right? So he takes a journey from Vrindavan to Kaligandaki river, which is near Muktinath in Nepal. He goes over there because he was instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his dream to go to Kaligandaki. And he goes there and he takes a bath, and when he's in unka kamandalu mein jab wo pani uthate nadi se, when he's taking water from the river, he gets 12 shaligrams unko prapti hota hai, and he brings back these 12 shaligrams and he starts serving them. On his way back, in a village called Deva Bhanda village, he meets Madhav Prasad Sharma. And Madhav Prasad Sharma had two sons, Damodar Sharma and Gopinath Sharma, and he initiates both of them. And they actually start helping him in his services, especially deity worship. So Gopal Bhatta comes back to Vrindavan and he starts serving his 12 shaligrams. But shaligram worship, as you know, it is like, Prabhupada used to say, shaligram worship is very simple. You wake them up, you worship them, and you put them to sleep, right? Wake them up, worship them, put them to sleep, right? Shaligram worship does not really have the reciprocations of, doing shringar and elaborate dressing and things like that. But when Gopal Bhatta Goswami had that desire in his heart, right? So once what happened is, one very rich person, जैसे हम लोग देखते हैं कि कभी कभी in Prayag or in Kumbh Mela, rich people are doing a lot of donations for deities and prasadam distribution and sadhu seva and things like that. Similarly, just a minute. Sorry. Sorry. So we see that uh, one very rich person, he comes to Vrindavan and he's gifting to the deities different shringar items, right? So what he does is, Gopal Bhatta also gets those gifts and he puts them in front of his shaligrams and he says, I want a form in which I can serve you with these, right? And slowly over time it intensifies. And then one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again appears to him in his dream, and this time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him that don't worry, what you desire will actually be fulfilled. One of your shaligrams is going to manifest into a deity, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him. And so immediately he becomes very happy. Gopal Bhatta becomes very happy, and then slowly his desire more and more intensifies, and he keeps praying to his shaligram to take a form, that in which he can serve, he can dress the deities and put shringar and all that, right? So in fact he used to put them, जैसे हम लोग झूला झूलाते हैं ना, he used to put his 12 shaligrams on a jhula, and he used to do that jhula, and he used to sing glories and bhajans and things like that, right? Of course, most of the bhajans we know now, they were written much after him. Okay, so may not be these bhajans, but then he used to. Okay, and when he used to do that, he used to think that when one of them appears as a vigraha, they should have the head of Gopinath, the vaksha of Gopinath, Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan. So head of Govinda, vaksha till from here to your waist navel level will be Gopinath, and then his feet will be that of Madan Mohan. Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan. So that is why our acharyas say that taking darshan of only Radharaman, you have taken darshan of all three. Okay. So this was his desire that was coming in his heart all the time. And then what happens is, he's serving, and so his feelings are intensifying over the years, right? His feeling is always intensifying over the years. And then on Purnima or Vaishak. So Purnima or Vaishakhi Purnima actually comes one day after Narsim Chaturdasi. So it is Chaturdasi and next day is Purnima. So that Purnima of Vaishakhi, yes, Braj Prakash Prabhu.
Prabhu, humble request, Prabhuji, if you can
Yes.
speak in Hindi. I got a message that
Hindi?
हाँ प्रभु जी, हिंदी
अच्छा,
बहुत से
ठीक है,
भक्त जुड़े हैं हिंदी में प्रभु। थैंक यू प्रभु जी, थैंक
ठीक है, श्योर प्रभु, ओके, थैंक यू। तो नरसिम चतुर्दशी जो होता है वो वैशाख महीने का जो पूर्णिमा है, वैशाख महीने का वैशाखी पूर्णिमा है, उसका एक दिन पहले आता है नरसिम्हा चतुर्दशी। और नरसिम्हा तो उस पूर्णिमा में ये हमारे गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी पाद के जो फीलिंग्स है, जो उनका जो इमोशंस है टुवर्ड्स हिज शालिग्राम, वो इंटेंसिफाई हो जाता है, वो और भी गाढ़ा हो जाता है, और वो इंटेंसिफाई होके वो फट के निकलता है, Srila Gurudev says it exploded, feelings का explosion हुआ, and he says, वो क्या बोलते हैं, शालिग्राम को बोलते हैं कि शालिग्राम जी, अभी मैं यमुना में नहाने जा रहा हूं, मैं अगर यमुना से वापस आके तुम में से किसी एक ने विग्रह का स्वरूप नहीं लिया, डांट रहा है वो डांट रहा है अपने शालिग्राम को, तुम में से किसी एक ने अगर विग्रह का स्वरूप नहीं लिया तो मैं वापस आके तुम लोगों का एक माला बनाऊंगा, पत्थर है ना, पत्थर का एक माला बनाऊंगा, गले में पहनूंगा और यमुना में कूद जाऊंगा। और गले में अगर पत्थर अगर आप गले में लगा के आप कूद जाते तो क्या होगा, आपका जल समाधि हो जाएगा और वो अपना शरीर त्याग देंगे। और जब वो ये जैसे वो ये डांट रहे थे ना, तो उनके जो छोटे छोटे बच्चे जिनको वो हर रात लोरी सुनाते, झूला झुलाते, वो लोग डर से कांप रहे थे। दैट इज व्हाट आचार्य से, डर से कांप रहे थे। तो अब वो चले गए नहाने, फिर वापस आके क्या देखते हैं कि उनका एक शायद दामोदर शिला और नरसिम्हा शिला, yeah, I have to confirm, I'm not sure about this, one of his shilas वो अभी जो हमारे राधा रमन विग्रह है, वो राधा रमन विग्रह का स्वरूप लेते हैं। ये जो हमारे राधा रमन जी है, ही इज नॉट ऑर्डिनरी. Okay, somebody wrote to me that it was दामोदर शिला. तो एक दामोदर शिला है, वो दामोदर शिला राधा रमन का स्वरूप में प्रकट हुआ. So now you can understand how special it is, right? स्वयंभू विग्रह बोलते हैं इनको. किसी ने बनाया नहीं हो, उनका अलग से प्राण प्रतिष्ठा नहीं किया है, वो स्वयंभू विग्रह है. अब गोपाल भट्ट बहुत खुश है और धीरे धीरे गोस्वामी जी उनका सेवा करने लगे. ही इज नोन एज द किंग ऑफ व्रजा. व्रज का राजा है हमारे राधा रमन जी लाल. व्रज का राजा है. इनफैक्ट मैं पहले आई वाज सेइंग ना कि ये जो विग्रह है वो पेड़ के नीचे उनको रख के उनका सेवा हुआ करता था, राइट? तो हर मंदिर में अभी आप जाएंगे तो आप देखेंगे सिक्योरिटी वाले खड़े रहते हैं. तो उस टाइम पे भी सिक्योरिटी चाहिए ना, खासकर उस टाइम पे तो मुगलों का ये होता था, आक्रमण होता था मुसलमानों का. सो सिक्योरिटी तौर पे क्या करते थे पता है आपको? उनको रात अभी इफ यू गो टू वृंदावन राइट नाउ, जहाँ पे हमारा मंदिर है, राधा रमन का जो मेन मंदिर है, वहां पे एक लेक हुआ करता था, एक पुष्करिणी हुआ करता था. तो उस लेक का बीच में रात को एक नाव लेके मतलब लोग, उनके सेवायत लोग एक नाव में उनको बैठाते थे. वो लोग भी चढ़ते थे, चढ़ के वो नदी के वो पुष्कर के लेक का एकदम बीच में जाके नाव को रख देते थे, वहीं पे एंकर कर देते थे. और पुष्कर के चारों तरफ, और वो नाव में लोग रात को ऐसे तीर धनुक लेके, बोज एंड एरोज लेके पूरा रात उनको गार्ड करते थे. जैसे राजा को लोग गार्ड करते हैं ना, वैसे करते थे. अभी इफ यू गो टू राधा रमन टेम्पल, जब उनका आरती होता है ना, तो उनका आरती के टाइम पे जैसे कोई भी राजा अगर दर्शन देता हो, तो हम लोग देखते हैं कि जैसे मूवीज में, टीवीज में दिखाता है ना, कि उनके साथ अलग अलग उनके पार्षद लोग बहुत तरह तरह का अस्त्र शस्त्र गदा ये वो फैन वगैरह वगैरह शस्त्र लेके उनके आसपास खड़ा रहते हैं. तो उस टाइप पे आप अगर इफ यू आर वेरी लकी, इफ यू गो टू राधारमन टेम्पल, आई वॉज वेरी लकी टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट वंस. इफ यू गो ओवर देयर, इफ यू आर लकी, यू विल सी कि वहाँ के जो गोस्वामी लोग हैं, ठीक आरती के पहले अंदर से बड़ा बड़ा सिल्वर का पैराफर्नेलिया निकल के आप लोगों के हाथ में देंगे. हाँ, बोलेंगे इसको पकड़ के रखो, आपको सिर्फ उसको पकड़ के खड़ा रहना है. हाँ, क्योंकि उस वक्त राजा का आरती होगा. दैट इज आवर राधारमन विग्रह, इज द किंग ऑफ व्रजा. एंड बाय प्रेइंग ऑफ गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी, उनके इच्छे के स्वरूप से उनका वो तीनों विग्रह का सम्मिलित रूप है. वो है गोविंदा, गोपीनाथ, मदन मोहन. इनफैक्ट गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी जिस वक्त यहाँ पे लीला कर रहे थे, धराधाम में जब लीला कर रहे थे, एंड वो सेवा करते थे ना राधा रमन जी का, तो उनका एक दोस्त था भूगर्भ गोस्वामी. भूगर्भ गोस्वामी का विग्रह आपको राधा दामोदर मंदिर में उनका दर्शन करने का प्राप्ति होगा. दामोदर मंदिर में उनका समाधि भी है. तो भूगर्भ गोस्वामी यूज्ड टू सिट एंड टेक दर्शन. वो बैठ के जब गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी जब अपना विग्रह का सेवा करते थे, तो वो विग्रह वो सेवा वो बैठे बैठे देखने में उनको बहुत मजा आता था, बहुत अच्छा लगता था. क्योंकि उस वक्त अनंग मंजरी स्वयं ब्रजेंद्र नंदन कृष्ण का सेवा कर रहे हैं. राइट, यह है गोपाल भट्ट. तो उनके साथ इनका एक और लीला था कि ये हमारे राधा रमन विग्रह एक बार गोपाल भट्ट ही वाज मिसिंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु। वो चैतन्य महाप्रभु का विरह में डूबे थे, तो ये गोपाल भट्ट विग्रह से उनको वापस से चैतन्य महाप्रभु का निमाई और सन्यास दोनों ही रूप उनको दर्शन करने का अवसर प्राप्ति हुआ था। एक बार ये राधा रमन विग्रह गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी को अपना काउहर्ड बॉय, मतलब जैसे गोपाल बालक है ना, वो गोपाल बालक स्वरूप में भी दर्शन दिए थे। So this Gopal, this deity, Radharaman deity, is very special. So next time when all of you visit Vrindavan, आप लोग जब वृंदावन जा रहे हो, जब उनका दर्शन ले रहे हो, when you're going to Vrindavan, two things you should compulsorily do. दो चीज आपको करना ही चाहिए. One is, जैसे हमारे परम गुरुदेव हमको दिखाए है, we should go and pay our obeisances to गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी at his समाधि. गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी का समाधि में जाके हम लोगों को उधर सम्मान के स्वरूप उधर दंडवत प्रणाम करके उनसे प्रार्थना करना चाहिए. फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकेंड थिंग, हमें राधा रमन जी का दर्शन अवश्य अवश्य करना चाहिए, है ना. राइट. हो सकता है कि हम वृंदावन गए हो लेकिन हम जयपुर ना आज गया. अगर जयपुर नहीं गया तो हमें गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन का दर्शन प्राप्ति नहीं हो सकता है ना. लेकिन हम लोग अगर राधा रमन दर्शन करेंगे तो हमें तीनों विग्रह का दर्शन एक साथ प्राप्ति हो जाएगा. राइट. और जब हम किसी राजा या महाराज से जब मिलने जाते हैं या कोई भी सामान्य व्यक्ति से मिलने जाते हैं, हमारा कल्चर क्या है कि हम थोड़ा कुछ लेके उनको देते हैं, है ना. उनको कुछ गिफ्ट देते हैं. यही हमारा कल्चर है, यही हमारा संस्कृति है. तो उस तौर पे आप लोग जब भी उनसे मिलने जाओ, मेक श्योर दैट यू टेक सम गिफ्ट्स फ्रॉम हिम. आई नो दैट जो सैफरन जो होता है ना, सैफरन जो क्या बोलते हैं उसको, सैफरन को जफरान, जफरान, केसर, जफरान, सैफरन. इधर का केसर, जफरान, सैफरन, ड्राई फ्रूट्स, ये बहुत बहुत ही मशहूर है, बहुत फेमस है, बहुत अच्छे क्वालिटी के है. तो आप लोग जब जाएंगे, ज्यादा नहीं, लिटिल बिट, 1 gram of saffron, 2 grams of saffron, not more than that, लेके भगवान को थोड़ा प्रदान कीजिएगा. जैसे आने वाले राधा अष्टमी में उनका अच्छा से सेवा होगा, तो कोई अगर अभी जा रहे हैं या कोई डिवोटीज अगर उधर है तो आप उनके हाथ से भेज सकते हैं अगर आप नहीं जा रहे हो तो. बट उनसे जरूर उनका दर्शन कीजिए. और when you go to meet him, you should give him these gifts. और तब आप देखेंगे कि ये विग्रह भी आपके साथ कैसे रेसिप्रोकेट कर रहे हैं. राइट. इनफैक्ट कभी कभी ये राधा रमन विग्रह का आप अगर दर्शन करने जाएंगे, अलग अलग जो फोटोज आता है ना, वो फोटोज में कभी कभी कुछ कुछ फोटोज में उनका दांत दिखा जाता है. ही इज स्माइलिंग सो मच दैट यू कैन सी हिज टीथ. का दांत आ जाता है, कभी कभी उनका दांत नहीं आता है ना. तो ऐसे तरह तरह की लीला आज भी राधा रमन जी हमारे साथ करते रहते हैं. तो प्रतिमा नौ तुम्ही साक्षात ब्रजेंद्र नंदन, एंड वी शुड टेक एडवांटेज दैट कृष्णा इज स्टैंडिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ अस. और वो हमें मौका दे रहे हैं कि उनका सेवा करें. राइट. एंड ये जो मौका हम लोगों को अभी प्राप्ति हुआ है, ये क्यों प्राप्ति हुआ है? क्योंकि गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी के जैसा एक वैष्णव आके इस धराधाम में उनका आह्वान किया, उनका उनका आह्वान किया और उनका इमोशन से, उनका प्रेम भक्ति से आज हमें ये मौका प्राप्ति हो रहा है. तो मंडे को गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी के डिसअपियरेंस डे है और हमें उनके ये तिरुभाव तिथि के महा महोत्सव पे हमें उनसे प्रार्थना करना चाहिए कि हमें और भी ज्यादा अपना भक्ति के जीवन में हम आगे बढ़ पाए, हम अपना सेवा को और भी इंटेंसिफाई कर सके, ताकि एक दिन हमें कृष्ण का प्राप्ति हो, गुरुचरण आश्रय प्राप्ति हो। हरे कृष्ण। So Vraj Prakash Prabhu, I want to tell you something. Today amongst your participants, I have my friend Arjun Bhattacharya Prabhu. Arjun Prabhu, can you switch on your camera, please? Arjun Prabhu is the servant of His Grace Dinabandhu Prabhu, who is
Okay.
himself a big acharya for us in
Yeah.
Vrindavan, right? So his personal servant, Arjun Bhattacharya Prabhu, is a very close friend of mine from Calcutta. He met Ashimanand Krishna Prabhu on Wednesday.
Okay.
So he's here, and he's extremely inspired by Radharamanji. So someday maybe you can hear from him about the glories of Shri Radharamanji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Arjun Prabhu, for joining.